questions like who launched fast? Who made money fast? Who is already winning in January? Every time January comes around, I'm always looking at preparing my heart, my soul, my body, my mind, into what the year is going to look like, or into what I want my year to look like. And I wrote down 3 things to describe how you should be looking at your January as a young and branded person. Number 1, January is for clarity and not for pressure. Once you understand that, you understand how to move on faster, in momentum, in a system-like way for your year. Number 2, January is for building systems and not just goals. Sometimes even your momentum in January can look like just trying. Just trying. I'm so disgustingly consistent and disgustingly shameless about being consistent that it has worked. Growth has never been a straight line. In fact, if your growth has been a straight line, you've not experienced anything. In fact, tewali chomanyi. You don't know anything. Happy New Year and welcome to 2026. Welcome to the Young and Branded podcast, where we talk about all things creativity, purpose, and owning your brand as a young person. With your host, Hannah Arinaitwe. And I'm just super excited for what this year has to hold. When I was planning to actually come and shoot this episode on my drive here, I was just thinking about all the possibilities that could happen on this show, all the people that we are going to inspire and move and, set a fire in their hearts to move into 2026 with a brand that is intentional. Honestly, I'm more than excited. I remember the last time we were here was in Christmas, actually, and we were speaking about how to avoid and identify the red flags, the red branding mistakes in the festive season. And I remember reading a couple of comments and laughing. Actually, I should have prepared a comment to read here, but I didn't. But I thank you so much, guys, for the support on the previous video. I really appreciate it. And I'm just excited for, what 2026 has for us. January has been quite a tough year for Uganda because we're currently in the election season, and I was quite scared to break my consistency for Young and Branded. Internet was down, we couldn't move, there's a lot of, insecurity happening. But regardless of all that, we are here and we are still moving strong. Now, for today's conversation, it's something that's so dear to my heart, something that actually shifted my entire perspective and my achievements and my goals as a young person that's trying to build her brand. We're going to be looking at how January isn't a race. Every 1st of January of every year, everybody is on such a high pressure season because they're like, okay, it's fast Jan, move. But the question is, how are you moving? Like, how do you start a race before preparing for a race? It reminds me of those days back in primary school when we used to go to the field for PE, and when it's time for stretching, we'd ask the teacher, hello teacher, please can I go to the bathroom, so that you can miss those stretching activities before the actual race. And then once we raced, at the end of the race, we had a lot of muscle pulls and muscle pains, on every part of your body. So that is exactly how I look at January. January isn't the race. For me, January is the warm-up. And I think that's what January should be for you as a brand, or for you as a young person trying to build their brand. So I want us to really look at how we can build a working momentum when you are starting out your year as a young and branded person. Every January, like I said, feels like a competition. Some of the questions that people are always asking themselves is like, oh my God, who has made their first million on the first week of January? I think I saw a TikTok and someone was giving a testimony story time about how they achieved their first million in the first week of January. And people in the comment section were like, oh my God, we've just started the year. Like, can we please calm down? So questions like, who launched fast? Who made money fast? Who is already winning in January? But what if we didn't look at January as a race, but rather as a warm-up? So this is how I look at my January. Every time January comes around, I'm always looking at preparing my heart, my soul, my body, my mind, into what the year is going to look like, or into what I want my year to look like. And I wrote down 3 things to describe how you should be looking at your January as a young and branded person. Number 1, January is for clarity and not for pressure. Once you understand that, you understand how to move on faster, in momentum, in a system-like way for your year. So, number 1, January is not for pressure, but rather for clarity. Number 2, January is for building systems and not just goals. If I could give a gold medal to a statement, honey, it will be that statement. January is for building systems, not just writing down your goals. One of the things that makes thriving chaebol companies, for those who watch a little Korean dramas like myself, a chaebol is like one of the most powerful families in Asia, I think in Korea, in China. And these are companies as big as Samsung that are running on years of success thanks to perfect inbuilt systems. So January is for building such a system in your life as a young brand, not just for sitting down and setting your goals. Number 3, January is for building a direction, not for comparison. That is what January should be looking like. And the number 1 word that would describe all these 3 things I wrote down is momentum. Momentum. How would you describe momentum? To me, momentum isn't being loud. Now, that's a very funny statement to say because I'm a very loud person. those who follow me on social media know I'm a loud person. But January should be looked at as momentum, And what does momentum look like? Momentum looks like you are sitting down and planning. You are sitting down and preparing. Momentum can look like quiet reflection on what you are planning, quiet reflection on what your goals should be. Sometimes even your momentum in January can look like just trying. Just trying. Sometimes even failing, but just trying. So think about how you want to describe your momentum. But the easiest way to describe your momentum as a young person trying to build their brand is planning. And today we're going to get into some of the things that you can instill into your daily routines in the month of January to help you build a system as a young and branded person. So that by December, when we're looking at some of the things we have achieved, we are like, honey, this was actually built thanks to momentum and consistency in small, achievable steps every single day that help me achieve the one goal that's actually on my start. Now, these are the practical ways you can build that momentum in January. Number 1, start with a clear focus. For me, what that focus looks like is having a theme. Every year for me, I always have a theme that basically guides my every goal and my action. 2024, my goal and theme, my number 1 goal and theme was being bold. 2025, I said my theme for the year was going to be being bold and courageous. What that meant was that I was not only going to build the courage to do things and dream of things, but also place that courage into a boldness that represents that manifests physically in actual action. And I think I was able to do that so well. So my 2026 goal and theme is elevate. I'm planning on elevating in every single goal I have placed and written down in my notebook. And if you are a young person trying to build your brand, this should be a number 1 step for you in January. Sit down and think of one set clear word or theme or statement that is going to help build the rest of your smaller, tinier goals that you want to achieve. After you're done looking for that theme, then you can settle down and now write the goals you want to achieve for your brand. One of the things that changed my life for sure, I think in 20 what? My very first time I came across a dream chart or year planner. Some people call it year planner, other people call it dream chart, was in 2020 when I was back in the mentorship class. And we wrote down the things we want to achieve in the next 5 years. And I'm happy to say most of the things I wrote, I achieved. Some of them, not yet, but hey, I still have a couple of years till I hit my 10th year. But I think I actually began to put it in practice in 2022. Yes, 2022, where I would sit down and place all the goals I want to achieve onto one piece of paper and just hang it on my wall. And every time I wake up in the morning, I'm looking at the plans that I placed down at the beginning of the year. For me, that changed my life. And I think the more intentional I got about it, and I keep telling people, oh my God, guys, I keep telling people that writing down your dreams, your ideas, your goals is so powerful. Getting a book and a pen and writing down the things you are thinking, what these days people call journaling, is so powerful. It's like you're manifesting whatever is just in your mind physically onto a paper, physically into, that realm of this can actually be, So for me, writing down my dream chart and building it and, cutting these different papers, I think I got so serious and manifested in 2022. And then 2025 was so magical to me because my planning had just reached another level because I had now introduced into my January and, my momentum. I had just introduced themes, that in everything that I'm doing, I have a theme and I have a Bible verse behind it that is supporting that theme. And behind that, I have goals right down that are helping me achieve. And not just the goals, but also setting timelines for these goals that in this month and this month, this is what I want to achieve and do.
You know what they say, your brand speaks before you do. And that is why we trust Dzyn Ape for all your digital branding needs. Now, if you are ready to level up, check them out at dzynape.com for a clean, bold, and creative look. This episode is proudly sponsored by Dzyn Ape.
By the way, for me, the way I write down my goals, it is not what I want to. I don't speak in a wishy-washy way. I always write them down in, I am going to do this in March and Feb and August and October and June. And if you really scroll through my social media platforms, you will see how that is manifested. In every month, there was something specific I had fixated my mind onto performing and doing. So start with one clear focus, get a theme. And once you're done with that, set your goals. And once you're done setting your goals, put a timeline to those goals. By the way, when I say these things, people think it's so cliche. Every time I share such things, people are like, oh my God, that sounds so cliche. And I used to think the same exact way until things began working out for me. And I was like, oh yes. So it sounds cliche, but it actually works. And I think things that actually work sound cliche because they sound so performative. I found out about the word performative on TikTok recently. And performative is where somebody overacts a certain importance or a certain action beyond what it should actually be. So it can sound performative, but it actually works. Man, I think if there is a year of testimony for me, guys, it is honestly 2025. I've never seen a year manifest so much intention like that particular year. And that what made it so different was the fact that in every goal I put onto my planner, onto my chart, I put a timeline. It shifted everything for me. And like I've always said, planners always win. A planner will always win somebody that does things fwa or zukuka. You don't know where you're going, you just move. And yet, you are telling people that you are a brand. I'm trying to build my brand. When I ask you what is your theme, what is your motivation and inspiration and your intention behind your brand, you don't know. But you are being a brand. Some of these things, I don't even blame you. Some of these things don't just fall onto you one single day. It's an accumulation of so many things that help you build and, mold the kind of brand and person you want to be and the kind of impact you want to leave, on this earth. So start like that. Like I say, January is not a race. It's a time for you to sit down and plan and build systems and build that momentum to make it work. The second thing is building a rhythm, not a timetable. Things like routines. I remember when we hosted Nathan Kotesa here and we asked him, "Oh, Nathan, what is your daily routine?" And the guy said, and I really laughed about it, but even what he shared was still a routine. He still talks about how he, sets down the activities he wants to achieve that particular day. It doesn't matter if you're waking up at 4 a.m., 6 a.m., 5 a.m., 10 p.m. Have you achieved what you wanted to achieve on that particular day? Actually, I used to be a late riser. I'm one of those people who hates mornings. Oh my God, guys, I hate mornings. I hate morning everything. Unless I work more effectively in the evenings and in the night. But I realized that if I wanted to achieve more things, then it would require me to be a morning person and achieve them. But there are some people who are like, you know what? For me, I achieve more things transnet. Might be from 8 p.m. up to 6 a.m. in the morning. So it's really optional. What really works best for you? You know yourself better. You know how it works. But we're still looking at building a rhythm. So things like daily and weekly routines, for me, one of the things that I really put in my routines is, because I'm looking at elevation this year, and one of the things I put in my routines is applying for opportunities. There is no week that passes by without me applying. One of the comments I got last year when I was in South Africa was, "Hannah," I don't know if I'm going to be able to cut it out, but I'm just going to paraphrase. And somebody was like, "Hannah, talking about all these different opportunities, but you are the only one getting the opportunities. Why are these opportunities not reaching the other people who actually also want opportunities?" And it made me laugh because I was just like, okay, so people assume that some of the things that happen to other people come out of the sky. They fall down like candy. First of all, even the Lord doesn't give us candy rain. But people think that opportunities come out of the sky. No, opportunities come out of routine and systems. For me to wake up every single week and apply for some of the biggest, smallest, wisest, remote, on-ground opportunities, being rejected, being accepted sometimes, but still deciding and continuing to apply till I cannot apply anymore. One of the things that will always put you at an advantage, my mom always tells me this, that Hannah, if it does not hurt you, if it does not affect or give you any sort of infliction of pain, then just do it. Just do it. If it doesn't take anything away from you, it doesn't take your dignity, it doesn't take your morality, it doesn't take anything from you, just do it. So that's the kind of system and rhythm and mentality I have as an individual. As a brand, I know the kind of brand I want to build in my industry. And I know in order for me to build that brand, I need to step in certain rooms and spaces. For me, in order to step in certain rooms and spaces where people stand and say, "How did she get in there?" It requires me every week to apply and apply and apply till I cannot apply anymore. So ask yourself, as the brand you want to build, what is that one routine and non-negotiable you are going to put, that one system, that one rhythm you are going to place in your routine that is going to make you unstoppable? Trust me, you can't apply for more than 50 and fail to be accepted for at least one. It's impossible. That's not how probability works. That's not how, the more chances you give, the more chances you are to be selected. It's as simple as that. So talk about your daily and weekly routines. Look at creating a flow that fits your life. Some of you are students, and you're going to tell me, Hannah, me, I'm a student. I'm even a day student, not even an evening student, but I'm a day student. I have no time. I have coursework. I have wati. I have lectures. I have friends. I have family. I have housework. All that to me are excuses. For somebody that has fixated their eyes on building a legacy that they want to survive in this world, regardless of what you are doing, whether you are a mom, you are a dad, you are a student, whatever. Create a system, a flow that fits where you are at that time in your life. For me, I always tell people that one of the most successful times for me was when I was a student. And trust me, I had many things to do. I remember when I graduated and one of my classmates said, Hannah, with all the things you're doing, are you going to graduate? Honey, I graduated. And I'm actually pursuing my master's this year. So yes, you can be a student, you can be a teacher, you can be employed full-time, but you still need to find a flow that still works for you. That even as you are doing all these other things, by the way, that are equally important, you still have time to contribute and add effort to the kind of brand you want to build for yourself. For example, if you want to build a brand as the number one best mathematics trainer, then as much as you have your day job of being a teacher, at least every evening go live on TikTok, and teach people about these simple tricks that only you ideally have. You need to find ways to fit the legacy you want to build into your already existing system. Consistency beats intensity every time. And I think for me, one of the things that makes me stand out is consistency. I am so disgustingly consistent and disgustingly shameless about being consistent that it has worked. Like, honestly, it has worked because I'm consistent. In fact, when I was coming to shoot this episode, I was like, oh my God, like I'm exhausted. First of all, January is tight financially. We are in the political season. Internet is acting up. Okay, if I record this episode, will it still go up? There were so many excuses in my mind that were telling me, Hannah, you can't do it. But then I remembered that the only thing that sets me apart from every single person in the room is my consistency and my determination to show up. And it's why my brand is at this stage that it is on. I have built that momentum to an extent that I can't be ignored. Like I said, disgustingly, shamelessly consistent. In fact, there was a screenshot I made today, and it was quite interesting. And I think I'm going to ask them to share it on the screen. It's basically here, right? And there's this whole group of people, and they say, these are the people who wish. Yeah, we all have wishes, especially in January. We all have things we want to achieve, and we are so many. But then half of those people start. Half of those people start. Then it shows here, one person keeps going. So that's what normally happens. So many of us have goals and ideas and, all these different things. We want to start. We even start, but we fail to build that consistency. And yet that is the one characteristic that will help you build your brand and build that resistance and confidence to a level where you can't be ignored anymore. So build that system, build that rhythm, build that consistency. 3, track your effort, not only your wins. Some of us are so hard on ourselves. Jesus Christ, in January. We are so hard on ourselves. If I do not have 10 wins, Mukwano, I'm not working. Eh? If I've not gotten this amount of followers, I'm not working. No, honey. That is, January is not a race. What you should be looking at is the momentum. How much effort have I placed into my craft that it is able to deliver what it's supposed to deliver? So track the effort. Like I said, the consistency builds over time. Even the more you track your effort and understanding that, okay, I've been investing this amount of time and money and this is what it has released, okay? So if I increase the time of this effort, okay, am I going to multiply what I'm getting? Yes or no? So what should you be looking at? Look at tracking the hours you have practiced. Some of us are trying to build our brands around our skills, our marketing skills, our mathematics skills, our driving skills, our cooking skills, all these different things. Are you able to track the hours you've practiced in improving these particular skills? For me, every year, because I want to build my brand as a media personality, one of the things that I invest financially in and my time in is practicing, number one, my public speaking. So many people have seen me speaking on so many stages and they're like, oh my God, Hannah, you're so good. But for me, every time I run back to watch my Young and Branded episodes, I'm looking at the small things I did, I said, how I said it, how I communicated, and how it did not communicate in the best way possible. So I do attend public speaking trainings and there are so many free opportunities for that online. Another skill I'm investing in this particular year is storytelling. Yeah, I'm a journalist and I have been able to produce a number of stories and documentaries. However, I am investing into understanding how to communicate some of the scripts that we write, into visual representation. Yeah. So I'm working with so many storytellers at the moment to work on that craft and learning how to communicate with the camera, and all. So basically, in January and for the rest of the year, as you are building your momentum, don't look at only the results of your work. Also look at the effort you are investing in, because the more effort you invest in and the more time you invest in, the more results you are getting. So looking at the hours you've practiced, looking at how much content you have created. For those who are content creators, for those who are gaining traction on their brand through social media, look at how many pitches you have sent this year rather than how many rejections or brand deals and collaborations you have achieved. Look at how many pitches have you sent. Yesterday I was selling my friend was telling me yesterday, oh my God, Hannah, my podcast, for you have gotten one brand partnership. I haven't yet gotten any. And I was asking them, how many pitches have you sent? And they kept quiet. In Uganda, they said, Nasirika. And they told me, I haven't sent any. I'm like, okay, so you haven't sent even one pitch, but you ideally want to have more than one brand collaboration. It does not connect, right? So you are busy beating yourself and your brand about how many non-results you have received in that area, but you have not pitched, right? Ask yourself, how much effort have I invested this January before you start talking about how many results have you achieved? I love to always make fun with my friends about, listen, like if somebody, you are in a friendship, you are in a relationship and somebody has sent you flowers or chocolate, or they're putting in effort to get to know you and, build your friendship. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm always like, oh my God, E for effort. I'm giving them E for effort. We are so invested in giving in E for effort for other things, relationships, friendships. But when it comes to building your brand and your legacy, you forget that the effort matters. So I'm going to start asking you guys, where is the E for effort in your brand? Anywhere. For me, I know the things I need to put my effort in order to see results. How I look, how I speak, how I talk, how I show up, how I plan. Jesus, planning, So building the momentum and the system in that way, then that can guarantee how my brand is going to look like for the rest of the year. Another way for you to practically build that momentum in this January, rather than worrying your butt off, is allowing imperfection. Your very first version of yourself, the Hannah that was in January 2025 was not the Hannah that ended in 2025 December. Yeah. So that most times the first version of yourself at the beginning of the year will not ideally be the same person you are by the end of the year. So don't beat yourself down. Just because you are taking things momentarily doesn't mean that you're not working at all. Like I said, momentum sometimes can look like silence. You're working undercover. People may not see what you're working. They may not see it, but you are working. Sometimes momentum can look like that. By the time you are launching and showing the world what you've been working on, what you've been planning, what you've been thinking about, the momentum has already been set. So for you that is beating yourself up because your January isn't looking like your wins already, you are missing out on what the most important part is. As a brand, the most important part is the system and the momentum and the effort. What happens behind the scenes that is manifesting before the people, before the camera, like myself. Do you know how much, actually guys, let's get real for a second. Do you know how much time and effort I have to put in on the Hannah inside before I become the Hannah outside? Do you guys know how much time I spend in the mirror pronouncing my words? There was a point my mom told me, Hannah, you are too fast. When I was back on radio, I was so fast at speaking. And I knew I was so fast. Even my friends used to tell me, Hannah, you're so fast, you're so quick. And I had to take months practicing in the mirror how I speak and articulate my words so that even when I'm fast, I'm still able to communicate. So momentum can look like that. People didn't know that. I was not there recording myself live on camera saying, oh, this is me. No. Momentum can look like you behind the closed doors, working on yourself to look the way you look outside. And that is why for me, one of the themes and words that I suggested for this, like I shared earlier, was evolving and elevating. I realized last year that I really worked so much on building my brand outside, but I kind of neglected what the inside of me actually looks like, right? In what sense? I won't go in deep details, but I realized that in order for me to be Hannah Arinaitwe, the brand, the media personality whose work is looking at inspiring other people to be better and to build themselves and to believe in their work and their skills and their talent, I had to work on Hannah inside, right? So that when I'm smiling, you can really feel and see the smile. So sometimes January can look like that. Yeah? So that by the time you're ending the year, it is you. The you inside is the you outside. And I know so many people who are trying to build their brand, others whose brands are already built, suffer with that so much. Aligning the real them to their brand. And that's why I always encourage you guys to be yourselves. Don't try to fake what isn't, because it's hard to keep up. One day you break, and that break will be terrible because you will not even have the energy to pretend, right? So sometimes momentum can look like that, What happens behind closed doors before they see Jeremiah the brand, Epas the brand, Hannah you get what I'm trying to say? So I want to encourage that patience and momentum that comes with building your brand, especially in the month of January. So starting slow doesn't mean you are failing, number one. Because things are taking their time doesn't mean they are failing. Number two, growth is not linear. Growth has never been a straight line. In fact, if your growth has been a straight line, you've not experienced anything. In fact, tewali chomanyi. You don't know anything. Growth has never been linear. There are always ups, there are always downs. There's that graph that I always see that describes growth. It's uphill, downhill. Even some of the biggest brands on this earth have their own growth curves. There are years where they're getting the biggest deals. There are years where they are not getting the biggest deals. but they are still working. Sometimes there is nothing even happening and the graph line is just flat like this. Then it goes down, then it goes up. So growth is not linear. Number 3, some seasons are for planting and others are for harvesting. Actually, one of the conversations I really went deeply into last month, December, was seasons. You know, seasons come and seasons go. There's a season for everything. And for you to be a successful young brand, you need to accept that sometimes January can look like a season of planting. So if you are putting yourself on pressure about harvests, you are missing the point. Unless you want to harvest half-broken, half-ready things. You know those when somebody plants half-baked seeds of maize, and then by the time it's time for harvesting, and then you open the maize cob and you find some parts of the maize cob are rotten, others are, maybe that's the kind of harvesting you want. But what true growth looks like requires you to plant. Use your January to plant. No need to hurry. Plant. Like I've said, planting can look like planning, waiting, momentum, and building systems. Now, when this season of planting ends, you will now enter into the season of harvesting. Those who planted well will harvest well. Those who planted weirdly, badly, shakingly, will still harvest that mediocrity. It's all about the momentum and steps. One thing leads to another. In fact, the sweetest form of success is success that happens step by step. For me, I'm giving an example of myself because that's the kind of life I've lived. For me to reach this point of building young and branded with this high quality camera and high quality sound and high quality content that is researched and produced and edited 15 times before I come on set, there was a stage, where it was called the bottom of it on YouTube. On my Infinix 37, I had the poor audio. In fact, I had no audio, girl. I had no microphone. I was using my phone. My footage was shaky, sometimes blurry, because even by then, I hadn't done Media 101, right? Actually going to insert here some videos. There was that season, that step by step. And now when I sit down to watch my product, I'm so happy. I even cry sometimes because I'm just like, Hannah, this success feels sweet. I was there. Now I'm here. And by the end of this year, trust, this podcast is going to be at another level. And that's what makes success sweet. The fact that there is a step-by-step process for your brand. The Hannah that began in radio back in 2020 is a different kind of Hannah. Now, on TV, on platforms speaking. That's what makes success sweet. And that's what makes my brand right now sweet. And I know, oh honey, the brand is about to get bigger and better and sweeter and honeyer. But like I said, there has to be momentum. Momentum doesn't start now and in 5 seconds like a Formula 1 car, you are the other side of the finish line. Nedda mukwano. As a brand, your momentum needs to be in stages. Now, let's get into our young and branded but moment, and then we'll be right back.
Wait, have you subscribed to the Young and Branded podcast? You have? Oh, thank you so much. Wait, you haven't? Please do it right now. Tap on that notifications bell, subscribe, like, leave a comment. Now, let's get back to the video.
So every time on the podcast, we always have that part of the show where we have the young and branded but segment. So let's go. Hi, Adam.
Hi, Hannah.
Ready?
Okay, they're young and branded, but they compare their start to people who started years ago.
Oh my God, 0 out of 100, honey. Do not, first of all, don't compare. Second of all, you cannot compete with somebody who has been in their craft longer than you have been. Like, does it make sense? It doesn't. So, no.
Okay. They're young and branded, but they feel behind because January is almost ending.
Yeah. Actually, by the time this episode drops, it will literally be the last Friday of the month. So January is literally ending. However, I will give you a 50 out of 100, right? Because 50%, maybe you didn't plan your year properly or you're still planning your year. 50%, I mean, there's still possibility for you to still make the best out of the year. Honey, we are 1 month into 12 months. You have time. Relax. Yeah.
Hey, they're young and branded, but they quit when results are slow.
You quit when results are slow. I'm going to give you a 10 out of 100 because we've all quitted before, right? But quitting is for losers. I'm sorry, but quitting is for losers. What differentiates you from being a loser when you quit is getting back on the grind even after you've quitted. So this is your sign that yes, you've quitted, but you are a loser unless you come back from your quit mode and start again. So 10 out of 100.
Okay? They're young and branded, but they are doing small, consistent work quietly.
Ooh, small, consistent work quietly. We've talked about momentum. What will always help your brand build intentionally and strongly will always be momentum. So if you're taking those small, intentional, sometimes quietly because they're happening behind the scenes, not in front of the scenes, then you are winning. That's 100 out of 100, honey. Let's go.
Okay. They are young and branded, but they think they need everything figured out this year.
No, you don't need to have everything figured out this year. But like I said, plan and build that momentum of how you want every week and every day and every month, how you want it to run in regards to building your brand. So I'm not saying you have to know everything, but I'm saying plan so that you know how to move forward, right? And whatever happens, happens. So I'll give you 0 out of 10 out of 100. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I always love the young and branded but game because every time in the comment section, you guys are always like, Hannah, you are so harsh with the marks. No, I wasn't. But we always have the time of the show where we share about the one thing we're still struggling about in regards to the topic of conversation. And for me, one of the things that I still kind of struggle with when it comes to my January is fighting with the pressure of finishing my planning within the first week of January. I'm always feeling like if my planning season for the year exceeds week 1, then I am wasting time. But I've also come to find out that planning is not a one-day activity. Preparing your mind, your heart, your body, your soul for whatever you want to achieve for the next 12 months is not a one-day program, but it's something that happens over time. So I do sometimes struggle with that thought, but every time I remind myself that, I'm always willing to move forward and to move on stronger. So I know if you're watching, I hope that you have felt a bit more calm, composed, and you're more ready to face on what the rest of the year is going to look like for you as a brand. Being young and branded is not about being the fastest person in the room. It's not about being a cheetah or a jaguar, because according to a wildlife documentary, a cheetah and a jaguar are some of the fastest animals in the wildlife. So being young and branded is not about being a soka ku finish line, Sometimes, not even sometimes, I know that being young and branded is about being intentional with everything you say, everything you do, everything you've prepared. And in the long run, that consistency with being intentional will definitely pay off at the end of the year. So I wish you the absolute best, honey. If you're watching, I wish you the absolute best in what 2026 has to hold. Get your theme for the year, get your subsidiary goals for the year, set the time frames for those, and watch how your year is going to unfold for your brand. I honestly wish you the absolute best from the Young and Branded team. We love you so much, and we'll see you next time. Do not forget to subscribe, to comment, and see ya.